Good afternoon. I wonder if you are a person who knows there's more for you out there and you want it so badly, but you don't know how to get it. You know that there's rules you're supposed to follow. You don't have a roadmap and you keep telling yourself, no, 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 that's not for me. That's for somebody else. That's for somebody else. I want you to understand, no, it's for you. You can have whatever you want. You can get whatever you want. And today I am bringing you a woman who literally does this for a living. She is a scholar. She is a teacher. She's a performer. She's an entrepreneur. She's a 9-to-5er. She's a television host. She does everything and she makes up the rules for herself as she goes along. Please welcome Dr. Juhanna Rogers. Hi, we're so glad you're here. Juhanna is a force when you are in her real life field, but I think you're going to get a sense today. And if you're somebody who's wanted to break out and bust out, that is why I brought Juhanna here today. So thank you for coming in, Juhanna. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for inviting me. I'm learning this whole setup, SteamYard experience is new for me. So I'm just excited. Like my face, I'm like my eyes, everything you do, I'm like, oh, what's that? How do I do that? Thank you for having me.
Well, I want to get started by talking about how you have come to be a woman who kind of looks at the rules and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this instead. How did that come to be?
Oh my gosh, that's the question. I remember as a child, my dad would say to me, you ask so many questions, like you have to give me a break, like stop. Like we'd be out, he and my brother be in the park playing basketball and I'd be like, daddy, and this and this and that. And recently they interviewed my mom and she also hinted at the fact that maybe as a kid, I was just always curious and kind of rambunctious and always creating a space. And so I think it had something to do with the family I was born into, to be quite honest. My grandparents were entrepreneurs on both sides. My grandmother was a social entrepreneur. My granddad was a small business owner. And so my dad explored entrepreneurship in a lot of different ways. And it was just always this, my people have found ways to survive and thrive at different various levels of success, right? And so it was always this space of ingenuity to just kind of say, how are you going to create opportunity for yourself, right? And so I just kind of ran with it. And I appreciate my mom, my dad, my grandparents, my brother, who always had the patience to just really let me go ahead and do to a degree what I wanted, but helped me understand that this was my world to kind of shake up. And that message through my educational spaces, my teachers, who would often call me a talkative leader, my elementary school friends who would describe me as the one who would be in class, who could get the entire class for or against them. So they worried about me. In that way, because they were like, we wanted Juhanna to be on our side because she could sway the whole audience. And I was like, really? I didn't think about that at all. I was just being entertaining or engaging or just like, trying to show up. And so I think as I reflect back on my life and how I've gotten to this point, whether it's my ancestral guides, guardian angels, just people have just come alongside of me and have helped me to unapologetically say, be Juhanna Rogers. And that is a very privileged experience.
Right.
I know a lot of women of color, women just in general, don't get inspired in that way.
So what would you say to a woman who's like inner voice and inner monologue is saying, yeah, but I'm not like Juhanna. I didn't have a family that was filled with entrepreneurs. I didn't have any role models. I didn't have anybody giving me permission. I am sure that at some point you had to give yourself permission. You had to parent yourself, right?
Oh my God, absolutely. It's funny because oh gosh, there's so many people. So my mentor, Dr. Robin Hughes, is one of them who I found myself going through the PhD process. When you are the whole idea of becoming a scholar is modeled after finding someone who you want to emulate their work, or you think that they're really wonderful, and you want to be like them, right? That was the first space that I felt like, oh my God, I have to choose someone to emulate. And Dr. Hughes, and there were a number of other women of color in faculty or senior administrative positions at Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis specifically, and a couple in Bloomington as well, that had blazed their own trail. And they said, to get through this program, for some, it will be about just mimicking and going along with what some other established scholar, faculty member was already doing, and you just copy their work and put a different, line of inquiry on it and get the hell out of here. Get through the program, graduate. And number one, I wasn't trained in the same way as many of my peers. My faculty mentor, my academic mom, Robin Hughes, really was kind of probably an academic spirit that was very much so in alignment with the maternal figures in my life, my mom and aunts and all those that were just like, no, be your own person. Do your own thing. Juhanna, you are an artist, right? You're a trained dancer, performer. Be that person. But there are some things you have to adopt from this situation. There are some things you're here to learn, but your journey is going to be about how those things emerge when you're able to blend them. And that is going to definitely set you apart. I didn't necessarily believe her all the time. It was not easy. It was something I doubted I didn't think that I would be able to finish. I wasn't sure where it was going to lead. I was very entrepreneurial. So I'm spending all this time studying theory when I could have developed a program and gotten $100,000 from it already. Maybe I still haven't done that. So let's just speak it into existence, right? But it was her and the women who I call them my secret life of PhDs, who were really like the movie, right? But yeah, that's like all of my secret life of PhDs. It was like we had, backdoor meetings and all that. And I was just like, how do I do this? But that kept me inspired and on a path to remind me. And I think for women that find themselves in a space where they're trying to honor the roles that they play, the responsibilities associated with those roles, that it's about finding a team of supporters who I often call, my secret life of PhDs or committee members to help push me to explore some of the things to do.
So I'm hearing you say two things. Number one, find a mentor, somebody, or even maybe not a mentor, but a model, somebody that you can look, who's ahead of you. That's the first thing. And then two is find a group of people who are your teammates, your secret life of PhDs, the people who are pushing you from behind. And those are the two things that you need in order to kind of tap in and say, I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know I have these people on my side to give me permission to be myself and to figure it out.
To be myself. Yeah, it is. And I say that, and I'm coming to realize more and more how finding a mentor is not often easy. And so I don't say that oh yeah, she's waiting right at the nearest coffee shop. That form of mentorship, I was blessed enough to have it for a prolonged period of my professional career. But that mentor can be a moment. Right?
What do you mean by that? It can be a moment.
That mentorship can be in a moment. There may be the woman serving you coffee, or male serving you coffee, or person serving you coffee at the local diner that helps you solve a potential problem. It could be the person, I was going to say pumping your gas because I'm from New Jersey, but people don't do that here. But you meet them at the gas station or in the supermarket, or in just unconventional spaces where if you are open to your surroundings and listening to the universe and being unafraid to ask and put your ask out there, that you'll find someone that can offer some sound advice in spaces that you would never imagine.
That you nailed it. You can't find somebody if you aren't open to looking and to
Right.
possibility, and then B, asking for help. I think that's a thing that many women, because we have so much to carry, we're not particularly good at asking for help or support.
No, and if you come from a household like the one I was raised in, asking for help can sometimes be viewed as a weakness, right? Like you're supposed to have all your ducks in a row and manage the things that come before you. And I will say that is, that's my mom's mantra. I do an okay job at it. Not so okay at other times, but I recently had an incident where a friend of mine was involved in a pretty bad accident, and it made me stop and slow down. It made me think about what self-care looks like for Juhanna. Um, it made me think about how in this space of self-care that I have to allow others to help take care of me. Like they have to sow into me. And I can't operate from a source of emptiness.
So this is fascinating because self-care is such a big topic of conversation, but very few people actually talk about it. A solution for self-care is reaching out and getting somebody else to help you. Like it's not a weakness, it's actually putting on the oxygen mask.
It is, oh my God, it's like putting on the oxygen mask and still letting someone come in and help you. Like you never think about it. Once you put the oxygen mask on the plane, there's still going to be people giving you instructions. It's not like when you put on the oxygen mask, you're going to know what to do. If there's something happening on the plane, you just have to put on the mask so you can hear the instructions and you can be cognizant and hopefully calm enough to help somebody else. Right?
That's so true because you can't solve a problem from fear. Your fear-based brain is not solving any problems. But if you put the oxygen mask on, it calms your brain down enough so that you can solve the freaking problem.
Right.
I love that. That makes a lot of sense.
And in that analogy, right, there's probably some people that are going to be around you that are way more qualified, that it's almost like what's happening right now. And I have some close friends that are first responders in New Jersey. And recently over the summer, we were back at home and I was sitting out on my next door neighbor, one of my best friends, on his roof. And I got out the window, but I needed to climb back in. And so he was telling me about, come on, 3 points of contact. You always got to have 3 points of contact when you're trying to, get in somewhere, get out. And he was using his, fireman training. I'm like, what are you talking about, the 3 points of contact? I have no idea. Never heard of the concept a day in my life. But it's been something that I haven't forgotten. And he was like, if there's ever a moment where you need to get in or out of something, as long as you have 3 points of contact, like your hands or your feet are steady on 3 different spaces, you could probably climb through anywhere. It's just about figuring out where you can leverage your 3 points. And I was just like, that's really interesting. That's how firemen do what
That's
they do.
another way to help yourself solve the problem.
Help solve problems, yeah.
So I know that in your role, in your many varied roles, so I've seen you perform on stage, and I know that you actually work as a 9-to-5er for the basically CenterState CEO, which is like the Syracuse Chamber of Commerce. I know that you have a ton of education. I know that you do a lot of things for a lot of people. How are you? We talked about how you're not great at asking for help, but I imagine that you're pretty amazing at providing the help and being the supporter. How is that your role in your community and in your job?
I'm 3 points of contact. Great question. I work for the economic inclusion team specifically at CenterState CEO, and our work is about inspiring a community as well as inspiring individuals to pursue entrepreneurial opportunities, right? And helping think through ways that our neighborhood, our homegrown based businesses here in Central New York can help grow and thrive, as well as serving as an intermediary in that work, right? And so a lot of my work as the director for community engagement is about finding those 3 points, really finding out where there's need, connecting need with opportunities, right? And also thinking about opportunities and needs as a way to innovate avenues of inclusion, right? Who's been left out? How can we get them involved? And how can that engagement and involvement help to lead and fill the gaps between needs and opportunities from a workforce development side, but also from a neighborhood community investment entrepreneurial side. So some days, right now in the midst of COVID, helping small, when I mean small businesses, I mean women, minority-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses that are, teeny tiny startups, right?
Like micro businesses?
Micro businesses. How can we help provide spaces or opportunities for them to be prepared for the aftermath of this, right? Equip themselves to manage, the aftermath, as well as doing some research and planning to understand what the landscape right now could look like. Right.
So I love that if somebody's watching and they are they don't need to be a huge business to reach out and get your help. That's what I really want people to understand. They can, you are a resource for people big and small in this community.
Mm-hmm.
The other place that you're a resource, I know, is in your own community, though. I know that you are a performer. I know that you have a big television show coming up. I know that you have, I've seen something that you have created out of your own two hands, out of thin air that you've put on stage. And so you are also a resource in your own creativity. Can you talk a little bit about how this is a way that you bust out of this like 9-to-5-ism and you kind of bust it out and you make your own rules up when it comes to your creativity. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. I am host of Behind the Woman here in Syracuse, New York, and that show is premiering April 29th at 9 p.m. on WCNY, our local PBS station. And this show will be viewed across 19 counties here in Central New York, so it's not just Syracuse. I guess how that is a platform, I was just talking with Shadia Tadros, who's one of the women that'll be featured later on in the season earlier today, and talking with her about her episode a bit, as well as working with the team to get things ready and in place for the premiere. And the one thing I've come to understand more and more, and Mitch Gilman, the executive director of WCNY, keeps reminding me of this, but it's a reminder, but in the most humble ways, because the show isn't really about me, right? I'm the face and the name behind the woman with Dr. Rogers, but it's really a platform for women of color, allies who are committed or have established a commitment of helping women of color achieve their dreams. The show is about them and providing a space to talk about the amazing women that are in this community, how they're leveling up, how they're using their ingenuity and innovation and resources to really create change that's really inspiring. And I often refer to the project as like my love letter to Central New York, because it was here in this space that, in running from the challenges of finishing my PhD and looking to get myself home back to New Jersey, I found these amazing women that were like in spaces doing amazing things. And I'm similar to my secret life of PhDs, right? And I wanted to show the world. And many times I'm traveling and doing different things, wearing my various hats, and people go, "You live in Syracuse?" Like, Syracuse, New York? Why? And I'm like, this is why. It's not many spaces that you could come into or go in and out of and be able to call it home. Not to say that there aren't, women of color and doing amazing things, but in a space that it isn't often viewed as anything other than Orangeman basketball, right? Or football, for that matter. There's this whole world that exists around the institution that is shaking things up, causing change, leading and innovating. And I really was like, when people ask me why I'm here, I'm just like, hey, watch my television show and you'll see why.
It's like it's a great place to have a platform and do something amazing and be seen. I think this town is a place where it's easy to get to know people. Like here I am. I'm a nobody doing this,
You're somebody.
well, we're all somebody, right? But
Right.
like you are a very accomplished woman and you agreed to come do my show for me. And I'm very grateful. And so in this city, it's easy to get to know other people because now I have a connection to you. And so now our network builds, right? And like the people who you're giving the platform to, you've helped build their network. And it's just like, I think this kind of intricacy is beautiful in Syracuse. It's a small city, but if you just start taking a chance and reaching out and asking people, like they're really very happy to help you.
They really are.
I mean, and so the reason I really love doing this platform on my Facebook page is because I get to hear other voices besides my own and build a team and a network and learn something. Like I just learned so much from you about why you're doing your show. And then you are showing me that, God, you are now that leader for these women, right? Like you're the mentor for them saying, hey, we're all in a network together. We're all like kind of pushing you forward. It's like a beautiful interwoven cycle. And I love watching that.
It's really amazing. I could say, for me, that there are folks here in Syracuse, men and women of color, the African American community that just has so much potential, as many other communities, but it's about a space being open enough to explore and provide opportunity and access for us to be innovative and lead and change with our ideas. And so I mentioned I'm here because I wanted to get home, right? But in my home state of New Jersey, just job opportunity on a good day is like you're competing with thousands and thousands of other people. However, it's been in this space that I've been able to think more critically about ways that I can give back to the community that I come from. And so, I have Behind the Woman here. I do a podcast in my hometown called Four Mics, and I teamed up with really good friends of mine. And we talk about local issues and being professionals of color in Newark, New Jersey. I've joined and got connected with Auburn, New York. And I'm like, where the heck did this come from? But, teaming up with Gwen Weber-McLeod, who was on last week with you, and start performing again, right? That is how Central New York essentially becomes aware that, Juhanna Rogers is a performer too, because I showed up here just being a professional. But my degrees are in theater and not theater, but performance and integrative arts. And I found the space in Auburn, New York, Angela Didabo and Carrie Idell there who have given us space to perform and share our stories. And so doing Four Color Girls there, a lifelong dream, as well as writing an original piece, A Gathering Place, that we did twice last season. Like that opportunity opens up. What I would say to the women that are listening, it's important to give yourself and find ways to give yourself permission, because in each of these spaces, someone could be like, well, Juhanna, who told you? Who said that you can? How can you have a television show and a podcast and be part of the theater group and work 9 to 5? I do run myself ragged, to be honest. And my son's always like, why are you so tired? And I'm like, because my brain is going. But I really feel like I'm still looking for my niche and where, in some years I want to fully fill my time doing probably X or Z and not X, Y, Z, and then. But to do that, I gotta dibble dabble a couple of different things and see what happens and what comes up next.
I love that you just give yourself permission. Right now, I'm really busy. Right now, I'm a little overloaded, but I got to try it on. Permission granted, right? Right now, I'm not really sure where I'm going to end up. Permission granted to try it on. I'm going to go get back on the stage. I'm going to actually create something of my own. Permission granted. I think that if anyone is watching you, the number one thing to take away is grant yourself some damn permission.
Grant yourself permission, like permission granted, everybody.
Yes.
I mean, even in the midst of this, permission is granted to reevaluate, to reassess, to re-engineer your lives, right? The world has shut us away. We can't necessarily, maybe there was just folks that were just getting on your nerves that you needed to distance yourself from. Now you got a perfect excuse, okay? Hopefully. And you can control and create the space that really affirms you. See this picture behind me, the elephant and the pillow that reminds me to live, laugh, love. And this space gives me permission to show up and be authentically the faithful, God-fearing, culturally competent woman that I want the world to see. And if my space didn't look like this, it would be pulling on me to be someone else, right?
Yeah.
And so this is an opportunity to really create the space that helps you unapologetically be who it is you want to be in the next.
Unapologetically be who you want to be. Now, I'm going to wrap up in a second, but I want to reaffirm that this isn't easy for everybody, especially if you grew up with the negative voices living in your head and you grew up with negative people living in your life. Like this isn't natural to everybody.
Right.
I know for me, it's been something I've cultivated over a long period of time. You've gotten better at it as you've grown. But I do want to encourage people like to look around your life and say, where can I take a little bit of control today? Like what's the low-hanging fruit that I can grab today to give myself permission for whatever it is? And so thank you for this message today. It's such a vital message. How can people get into your, so I'm taking a class from you on Saturday mornings. I don't know if that's still available for people, but I also know that people can see you perform and like watch your show. How can people get into your orbit to feed off of your wonderfulness?
So there's a couple of things. Okay, there's a class that I'm teaching on Saturday mornings. I will take additional enrollees, and you can get into my class as well as learn more about me at JuhannaRogers.com. There's a lot of information about me there. There's also a contact form that folks can fill out, and if they want to reach me further. The Harriet Tubman Troupe is a group that I'm a part of at Auburn Public Theater, although I'm not performing with them in the upcoming show. Auburn Public Theater is another one of my home spaces, I like to call it. Thanks, Angela and Gary, again. The other thing that I would say, WCNY.org, Behind the Woman. I really want to encourage people to sit down with their families on Tuesday, April 28th, to watch the show at 9 p.m. It'll also be streaming online the following day after 24 hours, and so you can see it then. The other thing that I would say is that I'm hosting a girls' night out with Behind the Woman on April 21st at 7:30. It's going to be a virtual gathering to just kind of come together and be uplifting to one another during this time. So if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, Juhanna Scholar, Juhanna Rogers, Juhanna Scholar, and Behind the Woman with JR. Behind the Woman JR. You can find out more about what I'm doing and what I'm up to.
I appreciate everything today. I love your energy. I love being around you. You and I are going to be on the Women's Fund together too. You're doing the Women's Fund this year?
I believe so.
I think so too. Yeah, I think so. We haven't had a meeting because who knows what
I don't know what happened, but
I do love being in your energy, and I appreciate your time today and your insights and your expertise. So thank you so much, Juhanna. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me.
What a good time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.